Hey y'all, Irix Guy here, and I want to talk about hiking poles for a minute. Now, traditionally, I did not use hiking poles, but as you get more advanced with your hiking, your day hiking, your backpacking, especially when you're in the mountains, like I am right now in Appalachia, sometimes it's just reassuring to have, a tree to hold on to, a rope to hold on to, but often that's not going to be an option. And when you're in the mountains, you've got sheer cliffs and this, that, and the other. It can be, even if it's not necessarily dangerous, in your mind, because of the elevation, you can often kind of freak yourself out. So that's one reason, probably a less common reason, that people may use hiking poles. Because you've got just extra. Instead of having 2 feet, now you've essentially got 4. And that's why it's so important with hiking poles to go with good quality, because ultimately you're probably going to become accustomed to having hiking poles in your hand. You're probably, it's going to increase your confidence whether you realize it or not. And if your equipment is prone to fail and you trust your equipment and you're overly confident, that can be catastrophic. So for that reason, when you're shopping for hiking poles, and I've made this mistake, I got online and got, I didn't know if I was going to use them or not, and I just got just a super cheap pair. Well, the first hike or two when I was out with them, they just, they started breaking apart in the middle. So I was walking, and then it would just, telescope down, and that could have been catastrophic, had I been in a bad environment. Fortunately, I wasn't. But for that reason, with these, I feel that I made a good decision. You can find these poles. These are carbon. What's really cool about these is that now obviously they're fully extended, and I've measured them out. You want to have a 90-degree angle. But to put these away, all I do is I pop this out, push that down, snap that down, and then I push this little lever. That releases that pops down, that pops down, that pops down. Same with the one from the other hand. And then they can both go in a stuff sack. Very small, very lightweight, extremely compact. And a lot of you may look at this and say, oh man, that's got a little string in the middle. There's a very strong piece of cordage in there. So I have no concerns about that. So just, and to put them back together, just do that. I grab this little lever right here, push it rather, extend this. You hear a snap. Now these are snapped together, and then I can adjust the upper part according to my preference. And obviously I want that 90-degree, and this is marked, so I know where I'm putting it. So now when I put it in my hand, I've got almost a perfect 90-degree. I'm not on perfectly level terrain right now, but I've got a almost perfectly 90-degree angle right there. So, this is one of the hiking poles I'd recommend. There's so many choices. Expand this video's description and click the link there to find these. These are the ones that I stumbled upon after. Now I do a lot of backpacking overnight, so size and weight is very important for me. So that's what prompted me to go with these. You may not need a hiking pole as serious as this if you're just doing day hiking, but check the link within this video's description, because I got a lot of options linked there. Other reasons that you may want to use hiking poles, we mentioned the confidence issue, mentioned that earlier. The other thing is that, if you're in snow or ice, or just, slippery terrain, maybe, it's not going to prevent you from falling, but it may help to avoid falls that you would otherwise encounter. Just a way to kind of test the ground around you. Is it frozen? Is it soft? Is it slick? That's a good way to kind of poke around with your hiking pole and see what you're getting yourself into. For walking though, what's really cool, especially if you're backpacking and you've got a potentially heavy load, maybe not too heavy, but heavier than, walking without a backpack on. These, when you're going up a hill, when you're going down a hill, instead of just having your 2 feet, you essentially have 4 feet by using hiking poles. So you can reduce, especially during longer duration hikes, Most of the time in the, around the Appalachian Trail up in the Smokies, there's days I'll hike 14, 16 miles. And I mean, and that's, with a pack on your back, that can be pretty intense. Hiking poles help to reduce the pressure on your back. It's taking some of that weight off. Instead of having all that weight on 2 feet, you've got weight spread across 4, because these kind of act like two additional feet. So there's a lot of value that these provide. And if you've ever, again, if you haven't, maybe you're watching this video because you're gearing yourself up to become a backcountry explorer. Maybe that's something you want to do. I've been doing it ever since I was a teenager. So, well, actually before I was a teenager. So I've got a lot of experience with it. But it's just a good tool to have. I feel that every hiker, every backpacker should have hiking poles. If you don't use them all the time, that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, sure, if you're on a perfectly flat trail, I mean, they still can provide value there because, again, you're reducing that strain on your body, when you've got that backpack on, because you've got 4 points of contact instead of 2. So, it may, but I mean, if you're on a road or something, you wouldn't want to use hiking poles. So, there are certain situations where you may not want them out, but that's the beauty of this particular model, is that, how compact they are. And I mean, it's like, okay, well, a lot of tools that people may not use during their entire hike, often they'll leave them at home because they're a hindrance. They don't, because it's like, well, I'd use that, but I got to do this, that, and the other. Again, show you how quickly this is. Boom, boom. There's one pole. I could do the same with the other pole, and why not? I'll do it. Boom. So, if you're worried about inconvenience and time, having to do this, there it is. Now they're ready to throw in a little stuff sack, and, you're ready to go on your merry way. So, it's not an inconvenience. I mean, now some of them are. If you get the really cheap and really heavy hiking poles, then that can become an inconvenience, because not all hiking poles collapse like this. And, if you're, if you cheapen up, you're probably going to regret it. But again, if you're just a day hiker, you may be fine with a less expensive pole. I wouldn't go cheap quality, but you may not necessarily need carbon. You may, like this is carbon fiber. You may not need something that collapses like this, but I would still go with a high quality pole, because otherwise, it can be dangerous, because, you're depending upon something subconsciously, and if it fails, you're going up a hill and boom, this whole thing breaks or just collapses. I mean, that can prompt a fall. And if you're going up a pretty steep incline, I mean, that can turn into a roll. It could become hazardous. I mean, you could hit your head on rocks on the way down, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong. So, again, for that reason, I highly recommend a quality hiking pole. Don't cheapen up. I got something on my camera. There's like dust that came up. That's weird. I don't know where that came from. It's super weird. But I hope you're not seeing the dust spots. I can't stand dust spots on video, but yeah, these things are just, and I like that reassuring, when you extend it, it's just got a little snap, a tactile feel that it's locked in, and how that's marked off. So since I measured myself the first time, I know that I just go to 50. And when I go to 50, I'm good. A lot of people talk about these straps and how to use the wrist strap. That's something I've heard mixed opinions about. And there are some hiking poles that have a left and a right version, and they're often marked. So, a lot of things to pay attention to. But this wrist strap with the hiking pole, if you don't do it correctly, you could potentially break your wrist if you fail. So, I mean, you really need to know what you're doing. Read the owner's manual. Make sure that you're following the manufacturer's guidance for that. But having that wrist strap can help with the value add that you get from a hiking pole as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that these things can do. And then also, and this is kind of a weird one, but if you're out and you don't know if there might be snakes or something somewhere, a lot of leaves like you got around me right now, this is rattlesnake country. So, if you're uncertain, I mean, you can kind of poke around and see if something comes up and strikes. I mean, this is It's probably not a good idea, but it would probably be better to get a hiking pole than a leg. So yeah, I mean, just cool stuff. But yeah, I've enjoyed using hiking poles. Never thought I'd really need them or want them, but it's like anything else, you know, once you get what you initially feel may be an unnecessary accessory, an unnecessary expense, once you get it and start using it and realize the value add, it's something that you're like, man, why didn't I do that before? So, you know, there's a lot of gimmicky hiking gear, a lot of gimmicky backpacking gear, but you know, this is something that's not gimmicky. It serves a purpose, serves multiple purposes actually, as I just mentioned. And but again, I mean, go for the quality. You know, don't go overkill. If you don't need ultralight and foldable carbon, you know, don't go with that, but go with a quality pole. So I hope this video is of value. Again, if you were searching for this, you're probably looking for hiking, backpacking. So expand this video's description and then click the link there and you can find where to order these hiking poles. Also, subscribe to my channel and ring that bell icon when you do, and check out all of my backpacking and hiking videos. I got several thousand videos now and a lot more coming soon. So hope you enjoy it. Thanks for your viewership and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Captain Irix Guy here. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/Irix Guy. And ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership and y'all have a good day.